Hello and welcome to this little video, and for tuning in to I'm here to tell you about the assignment, hopefully help you through the tasks that are required in the assignment. And this time it's for BSBLED401A, which is developed teams and individuals in the Certificate 4 course. Two parts to this assignment, but there are also some options for a case study if you don't have a workplace that you can use this information with. So part A then, the first part is describe the learning cycle and how individual learning and team development may be facilitated using this model. So the learning cycle, fairly commonly known training aid, really about life experience, isn't it, when you look at it. So it's in the chapter from the textbook, also in the learning notes if you've managed to grab those off the V Campus website. The second one is list and briefly describe the aspects of legislation or ethical practice that may apply to learning and development. Include those relating to privacy, discrimination, work health and safety, codes of practice or service principles. So it's possible you've answered this question for other units, and obviously they apply for every unit, but the different aspects of them. So it makes sense about privacy, keeping things confidential. Also about discrimination, we need to make the learning materials accessible, or the activities we're going to do, make them accessible to everyone as far as you can. Work health and safety, obviously that's a consideration all the time, but when you're training someone or they're doing something for the first time, there may be extra safety considerations to think about. Codes of practice, well, we've got code of conduct and all sorts of other standards within the public service system or the Department of Education, and you may have service principles that you've developed through a customer service charter or something like that. And of course ethics is a big one. What is ethics? And I just want you to look at that. Okay, what shows integrity, shows that you're a competent person, that sort of stuff when you're involved with learning and development. All right, I'll move on to part B. So Section 1 of this assignment requires you to identify and prioritise common development needs within your own or another work team that you can access. We need to identify suitable learning, assessment and evaluation strategies to meet the need with the highest priority. Section 2 requires you to identify opportunities for use or better use of coaching and mentoring as a development strategy in your own or another workplace. So mostly this will be in your own workplace, I guess. So I'll further explain Section 1 now. So part 1, identify a suitable method to identify the primary learning needs that are common to the majority of team members in your work area. So there's a whole lot of different ways to do this. A skills audit, you'll have seen one of those if you have a look through the learning chapter that's on V Campus. There's an example there. You may have looked at it also when you did your work priorities unit, when you were doing a skills audit for yourself. You would have all probably done the personal skills inventory, which is another audit of skill rather than other knowledge and things like that. And you can do a training needs analysis where you look at the gaps that people might have in your team. So there'll be a number of templates or tables you can use to put this into a format. And you don't have to obviously talk to the people in your team to do this if you're embarrassed about that. It's fine just to make the assessment of your own and then come up with what you believe to be the highest priority training needs. So there is another way to do this though, and this one is a common way, I suppose. A lot of people use it. I think it's a great thing to do because you can actually question the people in your team. So a little survey, a questionnaire, and you could include the possible areas for development, for reinforcement or for actually new training on that little questionnaire. When you get the survey back, it'll give you a pretty good idea of what the most popular, at least, not necessarily the most important, but the most popular training activity that people want. Certainly use a smaller group if you're involved in a really big team. Just use a sample to come up with that survey. So two alternatives there: do your own skills audit using whatever tools you wish, or do the questionnaire. If you do the questionnaire, it'll come up with something real, and it might be something you can actually do, not just for the assignment, but also for your work team. It might improve things for everybody. So we need to prioritise the areas that are identified, and also need you to describe the collaboration required to achieve consensus on both the priorities and for the skills to be developed. So because this is a leadership management type unit, that part's in there. There's got to be collaboration. We don't just sort of do things off our own bat and tell everyone this is what we're going to do. The whole idea is to communicate about it. Discuss how the learning needs identified align with the organisational, industry or competency standards. In other words, let's not just do something that's of personal interest. It needs to be something that aligns to what the school I work in, what organisation or department I work in. Anything that improves efficiency and effectiveness will probably be okay. Okay, so I hope that's fairly clear. Step 2 then is select the highest or one of the highest priorities and identify a strategy for providing appropriate development activities to meet the need. So there's a whole lot of options you can come up with here. I've listed some of them. These may include face-to-face group training. That could be on-site or even off-site. You might go somewhere for some training. One-on-one on-the-job training. Coaching by someone to improve their skills. Mentoring. Team-building activities, or some other thing that you've thought of that's actually fantastic, but I haven't got it on this list. You can choose whatever you like. As long as you can identify a learning or training need that's going to be satisfied with whatever activity you choose. Explain why the strategy you selected is the most effective for the development need, so you need to justify that. Okay, number 3. Draft a program for your selected development activity. This would include the structure of the activity, the content that you'd expect to be in it, the delivery method, so is it face-to-face, online, or a combination, or are you going to do some group activity that you'll all reflect on later on, the time frames for it, the resources that are required for it, the costs, and the appropriate trainers or coaches or whoever might be involved. In other words, I'm not going to ask you to actually deliver this program, but I need you to get to the point of having a plan to deliver it, as precise as you can make it, so that we should be able to identify a budget for it, how much time people are going to be committed to do it, all that sort of thing. So hopefully that's reasonably straightforward, a proper plan for the whole activity. Right. Then, number 4, describe appropriate assessment strategies for both during and following the development activity. Okay, so we're going to get people to do something new, maybe change their behaviour, and we need to assess how effective the training's been in doing that. So some people, like this, you're doing an assignment, and that's going to prove to me or your teacher that you have the competency to train and develop people, basically. But also for after the assessment, after the period of training. So sometimes you can assess people on the job, but later on you might want to follow up with an assessment. So I want some consideration of that. How do you make sure they're maintaining those skills once they've got them? The next one, number 5, describe appropriate evaluation strategies. So this is different from assessment. Assessment is about the person. This time we want an evaluation of the program, the thing that you developed, and maybe how effective it was for the organisation. So does it actually save us money now? What things could I do that would show how effective the program has been rather than just for each individual? I hope that makes sense. Number 6, describe the process you would follow for reporting the outcomes of the activity. So that's within whatever organisational guidelines you might have. If it's just within a team and it was fairly informal, but still, you can still actually follow through how people improve their skills, then it might just be a document in everybody's file or a spreadsheet where it's kept to show who's done what over the year. But anyway, just describe the process that you would use to record the outcomes of the activity. And hopefully if it's been something really beneficial, you'd report that to people further up the chain in the management structure. So section 2 then. Identify situations, opportunities where coaching and mentoring may be used effectively or more effectively within your work area, and include these considerations. 1. Encouraging self-assessment or reflection as it relates to the learning cycle. So a bit like the question in part A, how does the learning cycle actually fit for coaching and mentoring? What position or jobs may be involved, so don't name up the people, but the positions they hold, you can mention those. How these processes could be used most effectively. So if there is one in place, you can think about how it could be used more effectively. And if there isn't, it's about, okay, how would I start this up? And then fourthly, how the process of coaching and mentoring could be introduced. So in other words, how would you actually get people to be involved in this? So the steps to be followed, in other words. And I'd like you to contrast the difference between coaching and mentoring in your answer. So it's a fairly important difference, and they're often used almost interchangeably, coaching and mentoring, and they're used obviously in that phrase all the time, coaching and mentoring. I've said it about 5 times during this little talk, but there is a difference. So coaching is about getting someone to improve their skills by actually being involved in their coaching, just like a football coach or a basketball coach, where you're getting people to improve their skills. That they know what they need to do, but we want them to improve. Whereas mentoring is a little bit hands-off. It's where you're providing advice and guidance. It still can be to do around a task, like using software package, EduPoint or something similar. So it still can be mentoring in that sense. You suggest people to have a look at the video, have a few goes, come back to me and tell me what you think. Or it could even be as far as helping people progress in their career, where the mentor might suggest, I think it'd be a good idea if you do a Cert 4 in business at TAFE. That'll be a good step for you to take if you're looking for some higher job. Or it could be other things, to join Toastmasters or Rotary or get involved with community activities. It could be anything, but mentoring is hands-off. It's where the two people have a discussion usually at regular intervals, to see how the other one's travelling. So I've sort of explained the difference there. You don't have to go back too much to find out the answer, but obviously you can say it a lot better than I just did. So that's the assignment for tasks. The case study, it uses the following pages that are in the assignment package, and it's a hardware store, Smith's Hardware in fact. There's a description there of all the people that work there, all the main people, some of the problems they've got, and you basically work through exactly the same process, same questions almost entirely for the case study as what we just discussed for the one when you're doing it in your own workplace. So if you're using the case study, have a look through it. If you have any questions, certainly let me know, or your teacher, and we'll be happy to help you out. Okay, thanks for watching. I think you've got about 6 weeks to do that. Just check with your teacher what the due date is, and look forward to seeing some of your fantastic work. Okay, cheers.